Hi everyone, nice to see you, and then it's also nice to be seen. Right, this is going to be a short video on maintaining a knife, an axe, and that's it. This is sort of runs parallel or part of the knife sharpening, which I do realise is a really long video, but I do find that knife sharpening skill is definitely one of the best skills that you need to learn if you are using knives and axes. So this one is just to finish it off. I say it's not very long, but it just shows you how I take care of my knife and axe, and that's the sheath and the wood itself. So without further ado, let's crack into it. So let's do the knife first, right? So stating the obvious, right, you can have a belt sheath, or you can have a carry around your neck sheath, like I tend to choose more so now, with the laws being that they are, you know, so it's just easier for me. So what I normally do then is I'll take everything off. Also got my fire steel which I carry around as a spare. Okay, so I put that somewhere safe. And obviously I've got my knife. We've done a knife sharpening. So as you can see, again, you know, I've been using my knife. It's got a bit grubby. Normally at home I would just wash it in sort of soapy water and put it on the side to dry thoroughly, obviously, but we haven't got soapy water, so we just got to use drinking water. So all I got is a little bit of blue tissue. I'm just going to wet that. I'm stating the obvious. Just going to wipe all the crap off. Okay, remember I said about pushing a knife up when you sharpen it? Well, it's the same with cleaning it. If you push it onto the Scandi grind, you have less chance of actually hurting yourself, which is a good practice to do anyway. Right, so I'm not going to worry about that too much, but it's a lot better than it was. Okay, clean the back off, obviously, because when you use your fire steel it marks it, and then just do the final bit there, wipe that off. Okay, so that's pretty good, that's pretty clean. So what I normally do, if I'm storing these for any amount of time, I might put a bit of WD-40 on that, or if I know I'm going outside and it's very wet, sometimes put a bit of oil on the blade itself, not soaking it, I'm just literally a wipe, and that's all it needs, and that sort of helps protect it, because don't forget it, because these are high carbon steel, they will rust. Obviously they're not stainless steel. So to clean anything else off on there is quite important. The rest of it's okay, that's not too bad, that's not too bad. So what I'm going to do then, I'm just going to lightly put some oil on the handle, and what I use is the Danish oil, and I've tried other ones, but I've just prefer this one. There's no real preference as to why I use it. Okay, because I'm outside and this is an oil, I want to be careful I don't contaminate any of the ground that I'm working on. So I'm just going to take a bit of my blue tissue that I brought with me. But again, I'm going to pack all this out when I go. So I'm just going to put a bit on there. It literally is just a bit on there. Make sure I put that so it don't spill over. It's just a little bit on there like that. And what I normally do is stick the knife there, and I've literally just coat the whole wooden handle. Just wipe that over. It doesn't matter if you get it on the blade, not really. You don't want to obviously put it all over the blade, but it's really important that you get all parts. Okay, so what I'm going to do is, if I can, it's not going to work. What I want to do is I want to put it somewhere so the oil can dry. But since we're outside, it's not like being at home. Okay, I'm just going to leave it there for a sec. Okay, I'm just going to leave that there to dry. I'm going to put my oily rag, because I'll be using that shortly again in a minute. So what I want to do then, to sort of clean the sheath off, all I use is boot polish. Nothing special there. Okay, so all I got here is a mild tan. This is a new one, bought specially for this job. So all I do is I take just a standard brush. Obviously I've got black on one side and brown on the other, see, for shoes or boots. And I'll just take a little bit on there, and all I do is polish it on there like that. Okay, I've put quite a lot on there because I want to sort of, because I haven't done this for a while, all over. Just making sure you get all in there, all on the sides, everywhere. And this will obviously keep it waterproof to a certain degree. Okay, just everywhere. I'm not going to bother taking off the paracord there because it's not really in my way. Just move it. I have a few marks on there, so I'm going to try and rub those out with polish. Okay, and that's all you need. That is literally all you need for the knife sheath. So let's put these out of the way. And what you can let that soak, just, you know, let it sort of do its thing, or in this case we're just going to go with a off brush and then just literally buff it up. Okay, and that's probably about all as it needs. You can go over it again in a minute just to make sure you get all of it off. Which I will do at the end. So obviously, stating the obvious, that's all polished up. Okay, there's got a bit of protection on it, which obviously makes a hell of a difference. Obviously, if we just tip some of our water on our, you can see water off the duck's back. So that's, you know, that's why it's important that we look after bits like that. Bit of water in the stitching there, so shake it off. So that's done. That's pretty important. So okay, so one of the things I just like to do, the last thing, it's been sitting there for a while, is I just want to give it a wipe over with just a soft cloth, and then that will take any excess polish off. There's not a lot on there, and not only that, it brings it up to a nice shine look. I mean, you don't have to do this that often. Obviously, the more you go out in the woods environment or whatever you're going to go into, you probably want to do it a lot more often, but I probably use this, you know, not as much as I used to, that's for sure, but still, nevertheless, it still needs taking care of. So the amount that you need to treat it is obviously the amount that you use it. So the more you use it, the more you need to treat it, because don't forget, the leather is, you know, it's a quality leather if you've got a quality leather one, and you need to look after that as well as the knife, because that's protecting you from being cut, obviously, from the knife itself. So we just go back to the knife, and what I normally do at this stage is just wipe off any excess that might be left on there. So I'm just going to take it, I've got another blue towel in here, I'm just going to wipe it, because what normally happens is, when I normally do this at home, I normally do it just before I go to bed, and then I literally wipe, well, I wipe the excess off before I go to bed, and then by the morning, normally it's dry. But we're outside today, but this, you know, it only needs about 15-20 minutes, and then it's pretty much dry anyway. It feels a little bit tacky, but what I'm doing is I'm just wiping off any excess oil that's not going to dry. Okay, and that's all it needs, and that's just, you can see that's come up really nicely. It's brought out the grain again. It did need doing. It's still nice and smooth. It's a little bit tacky, but if I just leave that to the side there, the time we finish this video it should be dry enough. So I'm just going to leave that over there. It's difficult here because I'm on a log and everything wants to slide off, so let's put it back where it was. There we go. So that's how easy it is just to quickly take care of your knife. A little bit of oil, a little bit of polish, and believe me, it goes a long way. It really does. Okay, so knife sharpening, maintenance being the oiling and the polishing, then you know it's done, it's finished. Okay, so that's pretty, it's as easy as that. So let's have a look at the axe. So it's the same process. Okay, we've got an axe. Okay, I've tightened mine up a little bit, or should I say I modified mine a little bit. Personalised is probably the proper word. I've sort of burnt it a little bit that side and I've left it blank that side, but that's just, you know, there's nothing to do with maintenance, of course. But so it's the same process as our leather sheath for the knife. So what we do is obviously we take this off, okay, and we just give this a nice little bit of polish. I mean, your sheath might be slightly different than this one, but the same thing applies. Is if it's leather, it needs a little bit of polish. So a little bit of polish, okay, and again I just give it a good polish up all the edges. Here comes the plane. Always fly over when you don't want them to. Okay, so that's that there, so that's as easy as that. So what I do then is get the other brush and just start wiping it off. Just like a pair of shoes. That's come out really nicely, that is. Look at that. If anybody's interested in this particular axe sheath, they're actually made by a company called Under the Stars, and I've met the guy, really nice guy, and he obviously makes them for all the Grants Force axes and a few others. So if you want something a little bit different, then these are definitely better than the originals, without a shadow of a doubt. So obviously this is a small forest axe one. Anyway, this has come out really well, really pleased with that. Again, that's all it needs. It's waterproof to a certain degree and that will protect it. So we'll just put that over there. Okay, with the axe, again, if I'm storing this, I might want to put a bit of gun oil, WD-40, or just any light coating of oil on there. Obviously don't want engine oil, stating the obvious. But anything to stop it rusting, i.e. if I'm going out in a wet environment, or it may be more susceptible to rusting, I might decide to do that. But I generally find that they don't really rust that much, to be honest with you. I mean, I've had a couple of axes stored away and they've not gone rusty, and they've had no oil on it at all. Sometimes you might have to just wire brush, if you can got a wire brush, take the axis off of it. It is starting to rust up there. So for the handle, it's the same thing again. You can, if you wanted to, and I'm just going to do it lightly, you can put a light sand over that, and then we can just put our oil on, or you can just put the oil straight on. So what I normally do, and it keeps the handle quite soft, what I'm going to do is take a bit of this wet and dry, and this is 2500 grit grade, whatever. So I'll just literally go over it, and that normally takes off any little nicks I might have caught on the log, or anything that is picked up on it in its journey. literally, that's all it needs, just a quick wipe over like that with a bit of sandpaper. Again, you don't have to do this, I do, but you don't have to. Okay, you can go mad and sand it right back down to the wood, because obviously this is coated with oil as well, but all I want to do is give another protective layer to it. I'll probably only do this once or twice a year anyway. Okay, so that's taken any maybe splinters that are sticking up that I'll say is caught on something and dug in the wood. Well, that's pretty good. So then I'll get my oily rag from the knife. Get my Danish oil. It's like an old advert. Don't need too much on there. I don't need to drown it. It just needs literally a wipe on it. Okay, so all I do is wipe her over. That's so thinly on there, it's just literally just giving it this little shine all over. I mean, you can pour a bit in the hole there. I'm not going to do it out here, but you can. Make sure you get right up to the neck of the axe there, right on, literally right up there, and then just wipe a little bit on top, because obviously, you know, that's still important, it's still part of the axe. Okay, that's all that needs. It doesn't need a lot. If it was really dry, then yeah, maybe, but it's not. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to put that there to dry for a sec. Again, it won't take that long because there's not a lot on there. It really is. That Danish oil is really good stuff. I think I used to call it Swedish oil, but it's actually Danish oil. So while that's drying, I'm just going to put my bits away. We'll get them ready. Okay, so I'm just going to wipe this over with my soft cloth, obviously an old t-shirt in this case. Just buff that up a little bit more than it is. I mean, I do find that this is, you know, quite an important part of bushcraft. I mean, it's that embracing circle of all the knowledge and all that, and it, you know, like I say, if you've got the tools or the equipment, no matter what you've got to look after it. Let's face it, a lot of this stuff does cost a serious amount of money, so looking after it obviously means we're going to get more mileage out of it. So with that, so we'll wipe that down. Okay, we'll just give that another 5 minutes, so join me in a second. Right then. Okay, how's it feel? Get yourself comfortable. Okay, so right then, so all I'm going to do now, just to finish off, is just to wipe this over, because we're outside and it's not as warm as it normally is indoors. And like I say, normally I'll leave this stuff overnight to dry, but it's a little bit tacky. Actually, that's all right now. Yep, that's not bad at all. I'm quite happy with that. So what we want to do is obviously put it back in its sheath. Got the fire still ready for next time. So that's ready for next time. All done, all serviced, so we say. And we'll have a look at the axe. Yep, that's all dry. So you just put a thin layer of that Danish oil on, or any oil that, obviously you have to read the instructions to do all that you're using, but because I've used Danish oil for probably the last 20 years, I'm a bit used to it. Normally it's put it on for 15 minutes, wipe off the excess, and just let it dry for a few hours, and then you're good to go. But I have found that if you just put a light layer on, 15 minutes is probably all it needs to dry anyway. But if you want to just make sure that it's super dry, not the brand super dry, but super dry, then leave it overnight. Now that is pretty good, that's all dry now. I mean, what's that? That was 15 minutes. That's pretty good. So I'm happy with that. So we need to sheath that up. Making sure I don't cut myself. Okay, so that's good to go as well. So that's nice and clean and tidy, and everything is serviced. Okay, again, that bit there, you could just put a cotton bud, put some oil on there, put it through, so it just means this piece in here is protected as well. Definitely worth doing. I have done it, not recently admittedly, but I will do it as part of the maintenance. But that is it. I mean, she's good to go now for another 2 or 3 months before I need to start worrying, maybe, you know, if I need to do it again. But at the moment I'm quite happy, you know, to be outside with this. And even if I was camping out here for a week, I don't need to worry about it. Obviously I wouldn't leave it in the rain, that'd be stupid. But that's it, that's all you need to do. It's as simple as that. It doesn't take long, and it is worth doing to look after your gear. So with that said, I hope you learned something there. If you didn't, then I'm sorry, and then if you did, that's great. Tell others. Right, so with I will see you in the next video. So take care of yourselves and get out there and do some bushcraft, because let's face it, the weather's getting better here in the UK, or it seems to be, so I'm out as much as I can. So take care of yourselves, and I'll catch you later. Okay, B-roll. Be responsible. Always take out your oily rags. Bloody plane.